Roy in Saipan was about to move on, following Keane's newspaper interviews.
There was plenty of conversation between the team and the media, and the word had come back that this was going to be big. The word was that it was going to be disrespectful to Mick and the team, that it was going to be dynamite. Now, whether it was similar to what Roy had said to me in my TV piece, I wasn't sure.
The Irish Times immediately published extracts from their article on their website.
We all had kind of stood around reading this on the Irish Times website. It was clear that it was going to cause some upset.
You've made your decision not to play in the international arena after this World Cup.
Tony O'Donoghue's interview with Roy finally made it to air. And with Ireland's star player in an uncharacteristically talkative mood, Gabriel Egan tried his luck.
I asked the press officer, I think it was Brendan McKenna, could I talk to Roy? Would he agree to do an interview? So he said he'd ask him, and we did. I sat down with him in the garden at the team hotel, and around about lunchtime, just a one-on-one with him then for 15, 20 minutes, I think it was.
Thanks again to Gabriel's trusty ISDN machine, his interview was on air in Ireland almost immediately.
He's been speaking to our soccer commentator, Gabriel Egan.
Somebody should be held responsible. All the players feel the same, I'm sure if you spoke to them, but obviously I'm captain and I'm the one who usually speaks up, and that's the way I am, good or bad.
Yeah, he talked about that he wasn't happy with the setup and he wasn't happy with the, the training ground. And, the kit hadn't arrived late and the balls hadn't come and there was this, and it was just not good enough.
I love playing for my country like anybody else, and as I said, I'll be ready for next Saturday. But it's the package I'm not happy about. But as I said, a few people probably shouldn't get under my skin, but they do.
We disagreed with the manager on the way things have been done.
I think certain people do set out to even bloody annoy me, and unfortunately they're quite good at it. And I toe the line. People might think, it's typical, right? But I do toe the line, and I have to consider other people. But again, these things you have to accept and get on with it.
He said, that's it. Get on with it now. Head down with a World Cup to play.
But it was far from business as usual for Ireland's football management.
Roy speaking so openly and frankly about his frustrations, it just, put fuel on the fire.
The FAI rushed to arrange a press conference, but Mick McCarthy himself hadn't yet read the Irish Times article.
One of the things I had to do then was go to the internet cafe and print off a copy of it so that I had it going in.
Roy says this about you, he says this about this place, he says this about the FAI.
What do you think of the fact your star player is going to retire after the World Cup because things are such a shambles?
And Mick was a bit blindsided by it, and he said, well, I haven't seen it, I'll need to come back to you on that. And it was kind of an edgy press conference from memory.
The Irish team went away to regroup, but what came next between McCarthy and Keane would leave the players and the press in absolute shock.
This evening in Saipan, Ireland manager Mick McCarthy called a players' meeting which he claims degenerated into a slanging match between himself and Keane.
One or two of the lads said, it was unbelievable, you want to be there? God almighty, he just went through the roof. They thought Mick was going to hit him. They were screaming at each other at one point.
I think they're stunned. I think there's a lot of members of the backroom staff just pretty stunned by what they've witnessed.
The FAI called yet another hastily arranged press conference.
So obviously we all squeezed into this very small press conference room in the hotel to hear what he had to say.
I can't, will not tolerate well, not being spoken to but the level of abuse that was thrown at me, so I have said it.
He's gone, he's gone, he's gone.
The level of the personal invective towards Mick did genuinely catch people by surprise.
It was extraordinary. I mean, they were shell-shocked. You could tell, again, pictures feigning 1,000 words, but their faces.
I've never witnessed anything like that in my life.
The Irish team are the losers here. McCarthy's lost, Keane's lost, we've all lost.
McCarthy said he would not tolerate the level of abuse he received, and so the Republic of Ireland captain was sent packing.
I couldn't believe he was gone. 24 hours later, less than 24 hours later, he was gone. And then this whole thing had erupted back here into a volcano proportions.
The press conference may have been seismic, but no one back home was yet able to see it.
After that was over, we had to try and work out how we were going to get those pictures back. We couldn't get our material back quickly. If this press conference happened on a Tuesday, I might not get it out to a Thursday.
I tell you, as a player, fantastic player, but I'm not prepared to put up with that kind of abuse.
They had some form of very early satellite facility to send pictures back, but it was the worst quality you've ever seen.
We're joined again by Tony O'Donoghue, who I understand is now on video phone. Tony, can you hear us?
I can indeed, Eileen. I'm here in Saipan.
The quality of the pictures, we got those back through the tiny satellite phone, but they were shaky or low resolution.
Tony, can you hear us now? OK, we're trying to get shots of Mick McCarthy at the news conference, but it's not working. We'll go back to George for the moment.
It was like some VHS you would drag out of the wardrobe now and try and play it. You'd go, really? Is that the quality?
McCarthy said he will miss Keane's ball skills on the field, but as a member of the squad, he's not bothered one bit.
When this story broke, obviously we were in the middle of it, so everyone wants a piece of you telling that story as best you possibly can. So, you know, every radio bulletin, every TV bulletin, whatever we could manage, we did.
Far from a relaxing week of R&R, the journalists now find themselves at the centre of one of the biggest breaking news stories in the world.
All that mattered was that the captain was gone. It was the biggest story of the World Cup. It was the worst preparation for any team ever ahead of the World Cup finals.
With 10 days to go until the opening World Cup game against Cameroon, this is exactly what Ireland didn't need. Stephen Watson, BBC Newsline, Saipan.
We knew this is now a massive story.
I'm not prepared to put up with that kind of abuse.
This was the captain of the Republic of Ireland in the biggest sporting, tournament in the world. After that press conference, everything just exploded.
Everyone was ringing, every single separate news programme, news bulletin, TV bulletin, and then other outlets. I remember, I'm from Cork, proud to be from Cork, but I didn't really need Cork Local Radio ringing me at that point, along with the list of everybody else looking for a bit of reaction.
And it wasn't just at home. Ireland's World Cup campaign was now an international story.
Shockwaves still reverberating around this small island, and I'm sure all across Europe and the world as well.
This was the biggest story globally so far in the World Cup.
All the other international media were arriving then to this big row erupted in the Irish camp, and these camera crews are rolling in and press people from all over the place,
The 9-hour time difference between Saipan and Ireland forced journalists to work around the clock, just to keep up with the biggest story of their careers.
You had every single programme making phone calls.
It was kind of like the walk of the living dead at this stage, all surviving on very little sleep.
You basically need to work all day on local time and work all night on Irish time.
Every minute of every day, we were on the edge of our seats. You never thought it was going to stop.
The 6 o'clock news in Ireland, that's 3 or 4 a.m. Saipan time, depending on the hour. 9 o'clock news 3 hours later than that. So you're working both ends of the day. So yeah, you just kind of click into gear, and that's when no sleep happened for 36 hours, 72 hours, who knows?
I mean, obviously I didn't know it was going to be on the front page of the Times of India or whatever, but by the standards of what I did day to day, this was going to be a very, very, very big story.
The Irish team, still in shock, now left Saipan for Japan. The Irish press pack went with them. But Stephen Watson saw an opportunity and stayed behind, along with a handful of press photographers.
My feeling was, if Roy Keane's staying here, I'm staying here. Even if there's the slightest opportunity that we can get some pictures of him, if we could get an interview with him, even better. It was a long shot. We took a gamble. We were sitting in reception.